Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Friday, May 23rd. We prepare for trading on this Friday ahead of an extended holiday weekend as higher Treasury yields continue to weigh on investor sentiment. Yesterday, markets ended mixed. The Nasdaq was the day's only winner and was able to pull out a gain of 53 points, or just more than 0.25%. The Dow and the S&P 500 ended essentially flat, only off a little more than a point and 2 points respectively. But let's get into Friday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes, good morning, Emily. Listen, it's been a real quiet morning. Futures were flat, down 0.01%, nothing crazy. Then Donald Trump woke up. He threatened Apple with 25% tariffs if iPhones are not made in the U.S. He's now recommending 50% tariffs to go effective on the EU, effective June 1st. That's next week. That changed things. That changed the dynamics dramatically. The S&Ps went from flat to down 1.5%. We're currently down 1.50% on the S&Ps right now. Also going on, I mean, there are supposedly talks going on between the U.S. and Iran today over that nuclear enrichment issue, trying to get them in line, trying to get them on board. China and the U.S. are scheduled to hold trade talks today. This is what's scary because once he gets on a roll on issuing tariffs, he could keep doing this. So I'm a little cautious there too. President Trump is expected to sign an order today aimed at revitalizing the U.S. nuclear energy sector this afternoon. So let's keep an eye on those energy stocks and nuclear energy stocks. Something like OKLO. What else we have on the economic front? You got new home sales coming out today. Fed Governor Lisa Cook's going to be speaking today. And don't forget, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell is scheduled to speak on Sunday. He's given a speech at Princeton, his alma mater. I think it's likely to the graduating class. So he typically will pepper it with something, some ideas about what's going on in the economy. On the earnings front, hey, you know what? Tech continues to be positive. We had good reports from INTU and ADSK. Retailers continue to pull guidance due to the tariff situation. Remember, markets are closed on Monday. Tuesday morning, you got our earnings coming out, PDD, the Chinese company. Let's take a look at the global markets for a second and see what's going on over there. Listen, you know what? Earlier this morning, I was watching the DAX. The DAX was trading higher, which was nice to see. As a matter of fact, most of Europe was higher. But then, Trump came out with his tweets, and that just shocked everything. The DAX went from being higher by 0.19%. It's now trading lower by 2.30%. The FTSE was higher, by by about 0.1%. It's now lower by 1.28%, and the CAC is lower by 2.73%. This is all due to Trump's tariffs tweets. You're looking at Asia last night. Asia was, kind of, positive for the most part. The Nikkei jumped 174 points, or 0.47%. Their core inflation data came in hotter than expected. Now that supports the market expectations for a rate hike by the BOJ. Hong Kong also gained, picking up 56 points, or 0.24%. IPO momentum, positive action in financial stocks. China fell 31 points, about 1%, 0.94%. The People's Bank of China injected 500 billion yuan into the financial system. It's not really enough to overcome concerns over the U.S.-China trade relations, though. So, there was some weakness in there. And then we're taking a look at oil, because oil remains a key factor. And, I'm watching oil this morning, and oil was down 0.5%, and then all of a sudden it turned and it rebounded. It's trading higher. But then Trump's tweets hit. Now the oil has flipped back to negative. WTI is trading at $60.23. It's down 1.58%, 1.68%. You're looking at Brent. It's trading down 1.54% to $63.45. This is all due to Trump's tweets this morning on tariffs. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough situation, but you got to trade through it. And that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update, Emily.
Bill, as you mentioned, we sort of went into this Friday ahead of a weekend, thinking it would be a pretty uneventful day, low volatility. And now, as you mentioned, there's a number of news items making action sort of pick up. And that is one of the reasons why having NewsWare becomes so important any trading day as you're watching all of this data information and, of course, the latest headlines. We're going to dive in here throughout the show and all the elements moving the markets today. We will start here with earnings action. You did give us a little preview of some, mentioning that we're going to look ahead to Tuesday instead of Monday because of that holiday. But let's get to earnings action. Bill, what is going on there?
We had, let's talk about some of the earnings that came out. We got earnings from Copart, Deckers, and Autodesk last night. Deckers beat by 39 cents on higher revenue. Copart, ticker CPRT, they met expectations, but it was done on lower revenue. I mean, that stock's down 4.32% this morning. But Autodesk, ADSK, they beat by 14 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. That stock's up 1.30%. In terms of upcoming earnings, it's PDD Holdings, Paul David. EPS is $2.49. Expected move is 8.57% when they release on Tuesday morning, Emily.
And Bill, you did mention Decker Outdoors, and they did have a nice beat, but there is sort of a little bit of an issue with their guidance there, and you're going to give us that later in the show, but it was your pick of the day yesterday. Let's see if you got out with that one with a gain by the end of the show, so stick with us through all of that. Now we're going to get to economic events on the day, a couple of reports, and as you told us, some key Fed speak. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
Listen, the key one really for today is the new home sales. Now, that's going to come out at 10 a.m. this morning. At 1 p.m., you get the Baker Hughes rig count in terms of Fed speak. Fed Governor Lisa Cook, she's going to be speaking at noon Eastern time, and Powell's going to be speaking on Sunday at Princeton. In terms of the new home sales report, expectations are really for a decline of 4% in new home sales, following last month's strong increase, which came in at 7.4%. So a negative 4% reading would signal a notable pullback from the previous month's surge. That's likely due to the elevated interest rates, that are coming up there. And let's not forget, Fed Governor Waller, he did come out yesterday. He did an interview yesterday. He indicated that the central bank would cut interest rates in the second half of this year if the Trump administration's tariffs on U.S. trading partners is stabilized around 10%. It just changed. I don't know if that's going to happen. So now you got questions of whether they're going to do interest rate cuts this year. But that's what I have for you in terms of an economic update, Emily.
Bill, day in and day out, we know to follow those earnings reports, these economic events, and Fed speak. And there's still other information to follow. And the question becomes, what else should we be following day in and day out? And you have the answer to that because you have NewsWare. And you're able to categorize your data, news, and information, which makes it easy to gather what's important for the trading day ahead. Along with the political news, you're also following things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news. You're looking at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets on this Friday?
I just got to do a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 5 higher, 25 lower. It was all green before. I'm looking at my FANG stocks this morning, and they're all weakening. They're all trading lower. They're down 1% or more. You look at some of the news behind it, and really, Apple. I mean, Apple's getting smoked this morning. I mean, the stock's down 3.82%. I mean, it was hit by Trump's comments about 25% tariffs on foreign-made iPhones. I mean, this is, the concept of really producing the iPhones, a switch from the iPhones from production in, India and China to the U.S. overnight is it's not possible. It's just not possible. They don't have assembly lines in order to do this. So we'll have to see. So those, I think Trump moves forward with these tariffs on Apple, but we'll have to wait and see. And then, what else do we have in terms of FANG stock news? We got Meta, that Make America Healthy Again report. I mean, it was highly critical on diets and medication, but it also included the influence of technology and social media, such as Meta. It pointed out Meta as one of the issues to make America healthy again, is to get kids off social media. Then you're talking, Tesla, ticker TSLA. I mean, stocks, you look at the stock this morning and it is weakening. Tesla's down 1.95% this morning. The Chinese car manufacturer BYD, they outsold Tesla in Europe, for the first time ever. So yeah, that's causing some weakness in Tesla this morning. In terms of Dow Jones 30 stocks, the FTC dismissed a case that sought to block Microsoft acquisition of Activision by Microsoft. I mean, but you look at Microsoft, the weakness is in. It's down 1.14% this morning. Disney, ticker DIS, they're filing suit against YouTube as it hires a long-term Disney executive, Justin Conley. But Disney is also down 1%. Amazon, that shareholder proposal to separate the chairman and CEO roles, it wasn't approved. Doesn't matter. You look at Amazon, it's down 2.7% this morning. In terms of merger news, ticker GT, Goodyear Tire, they're going to sell a majority of its chemical business for $650 million. SNY, Sanofi, they're going to be buying Virgil Neurosciences for about $470 million. Now, this is a deal because they want to add to their pipeline for their Alzheimer's drugs, and that's why they're doing it. It's a small deal, but it is a good one for them to have. In terms of guidance news, listen, Decker Outdoors, Ross Stores, they're not providing guidance for 2026. Why? Economic uncertainty due to the tariff situation. You saw it today. So yeah, not surprised they're pulling guidance. Intuit, ticker INTU, they see Q4 EPS coming in 263 to 268. Street estimates 260. That's an uptick. I gotta like that. Intuit. Workday, ticker WKDY, they see Q2 subscriptions hitting 2.16 billion. That represents a 13.5% growth. That's positive. Workday, positive. In terms of shareholders meeting, you got Upstart, UPST. They're holding a shareholders meeting today at noon. Amgen, ticker AMGN, they're holding a shareholders meeting today at 2 p.m. That could be something. In terms of buyback news, Seagate Technologies, STX, Sam, Tom, X-Ray, they announced a $5 billion stock repurchasing plan. Workday, ticker WDAY, their board authorized a buyback of up to $1 billion dollars worth of shares. Decker Outdoors, ticker DECK, they announced a $2.25 billion stock repurchasing plan. Lennox, ticker LII, their board approved a $1 billion increase to their stock buyback authorization. And that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day, but we are ending the week ahead of a long weekend. Number of news items that are coming out that were a little unexpected. So what is your pick of the day today?
Yeah, the unexpected news item has caused me to change my opinion on my pick of the day. So I'm going to go with Verizon, ticker VZ, Victor Zebra. Listen, Trump blew up the plant, and so you want to go to safety, Verizon is safe. And you look at yesterday's call volume, 24,994 calls versus 18,972 puts. Okay. Open interest, 554K to 468K. They're good enough. Major brokers, nobody dislikes Verizon. It's steady, Eddie. Get it in at the right price is key. I want to get in low 43, so I'm going to say, somewhere between 43.15 and 43.30, somewhere like around there. That should, if it hits that, there's going to be weakness in the morning. So yeah, you're going to be able to get in at a lower price than where it's at now. But I do think that this is the stock that has the ability to continue to tread higher. So we'll pick Verizon today, ticker VZ, Victor Zebra, as our pick of the day today, Emily.
Well, staying nimble there and switching up your pick, given the news cycle is just another example of how you're using Newsware to stay on top of markets. And looking at Verizon at a specific entry price, you've called some really good entry prices over the last few picks. And a reminder that we record this well ahead of the opening bell. So we're going to check in with you in just a moment on yesterday's pick of the day to see how that one went. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, sending it back to you.
This is interesting. NVIDIA CEO flew out to Taipei on Friday after a week after revealing adoration for Taiwan's tech industry and delivered a subtle but crucial message from the U.S. AI chip king on how it plans to keep its crown. Interesting. Listen, these nuclear stocks are surging on reports of Trump signing an executive order to boost the industry. We know that. That bid for Nippon Steel, that the U.S. panel is divided over it. I mean, the U.S. Steel goes bankrupt or they do the deal with Nippon Steel. That's the way it is. So you don't have much of a choice. You got to let that deal go through. Some of the big banks are exploring ventures into cryptocurrencies, with a joint stable coin. Oil slides 2% as Trump recommends 50% EU tariffs. Let's see what else. There's Pfizer, FDA advisor voted in favor of a COVID-19 vaccine strain, for the upcoming 25-26 season. PepsiCo, FTC dismisses its lawsuit against PepsiCo. So the FTC dismissed two lawsuits. They did it on Microsoft and they did it on Pepsi in the last 24 hours. Trump's kicking out all the foreign students out of Harvard. Harvard can't do much. There's nobody in the Trump administration that went to Harvard really, other than RFK. And, he's not considered a prominent Harvard alum. He was just allowed in due to nepotism, essentially. Booz Allen, they came out with earnings this morning. They not great. They met expectations. OKLO got some price target upgrades this morning. Remember, this can be a hot one because of the executive order being signed by Trump today. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we get to trading ahead of the extended holiday weekend, let's check in on that pick of the day from yesterday. I pointed out earlier in the show was Decker Outdoors. You did tell us that the company had a pretty big beat. They did release earnings yesterday after the bell. They reported a Q4 EPS of $1 that was anywhere from 39 cents to 41 cents, better than the analyst estimates out there. Revenue for the quarter came in at $1.02 billion versus the consensus estimate of $1.01 billion. So sneaking by that consensus there. You did give us that note about their forward-looking guidance during your Newsware alerts breakdown. The stock had a nice little run yesterday before it started to crumble in after hours trading because of that forwards guidance, which again was slashed because of tariff woes. But Bill, were you able to get out with a gain? How did your call work out?
Yeah, if you look at the action yesterday, it was really positive. I mean, listen, the stock opened up at 123.42. And I said, listen, I'm looking for, an entry price of 122.50, so it opened up at 123.42. And then it definitely fell underneath the 123 area. It fell, the stock actually fell to 122.58. So, I said 122.50 to 123, and it falls to 122.58. It's right in the middle there. And then next thing you know, it pops, it rallies, and it jumps as high as 127. I mean, and then after earnings yesterday, it did pop on earnings because the EPS was a beat. But when they pulled forward guidance and that news started to come out, that stock got smoked. But was there a chance for a 1% beat off the opening price or off my entry price? Absolutely, because it was there. It was there because that stock was running into earnings, and that's what we play. We grabbed our 1% and we walked away. So Decker Outdoors, ticker DECK, was a winner yesterday, Emily.
Bill, staying disciplined with that, grabbing the 1% when you see it makes it another win. And we will check in with you on Tuesday about today's Verizon pick of the day. Reminder that markets are closed on Monday in observance of the Memorial Day holiday. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here Tuesday at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.